What's up, my people? What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Radical Latino Show. Today's a very special episode because I'm going to let you guys hear a special debate I had with a listener called Didi. She is a listener of the show, and she wanted to call up because she had a lot of things that she disagreed with me about. So, with her permission, I said, hey, let's record this, and I'll make this into another episode. And she agreed, and that's what you guys are going to hear. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys will actually listen to some of the things that I say. So everything that I say, all the facts that I bring up, you're going to find in the description on the podcast, or if this is on YouTube, you're going to find it in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoy it, and tell me what you guys think, alright? Didi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, Rad?
Pretty good. Just, hanging in there. Surprised you want to call up. So
that was cool. Thank you so much for having me.
Nah, it's all right. It's totally fine. I always open the floor for discussion. So
Cool.
Just give us a little bit of introduction about you, and let us know what do you disagree about what I said in the past.
Well, introduction was me. I won't go into too much. There's not too much about me, but I would say that I am definitely not on the left side of the political sphere. I'm definitely more on the right. And when I say that, I don't mean all right. I mean just more conservative and a little bit more traditional. And there's a lot of stuff that I disagree with you when it comes down to certain topics. And then there's other things I actually agree with you with. So we're not too far away from each other, but we still have disagreements. But I am excited for this conversation, either way.
Gotcha. So can you tell us what do you disagree with me about?
The whole idea of how white supremacy is rampant, I guess, and how there's pretty much the whole aspect of white supremacy, and the fact that you don't really talk about black supremacy at all, and that is, I find that a bigger issue.
Gotcha.
If anything, either way, I find them both evil. To be honest, I think any type of supremacy is evil and wicked, but definitely one is more prominent than the other, I would say. And
Gotcha.
Talk about that.
So can you give me some examples of black supremacy?
Supremacy. You see it everywhere on Facebook.
Of black
you see it
supremacy.
Everywhere on YouTube. It's pretty much just like essentially with white supremacy. It is the idea and the belief that your race, I guess the black race, is superior than the white race, and how they want to preserve that. And you see that throughout, like for example, with some I don't want to use this, but I'm going to have to, like Twitter. See, like, you see black Twitter and the racism that they spew. You see a lot of black groups that get together, the Black Hebrew Israelites, who want to enslave white people, and black groups that want to kill white people.
And to you, these are examples of comparative examples to white supremacists.
Yes, but I'll tell you one thing. Being a black supremacist is not as frowned upon as it is to be a white supremacist. Being a white supremacist,
Gotcha.
You will lose your job, you will be ostracized, you'll be shunned.
Now,
but being a black supremacist, saying black power is completely okay.
Now, why do you think that opposite is true?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Why do you think the opposite, that being a white supremacist is actually frowned upon than being a so-called black supremacist? Why do you think that is true? Why do you think these people get ostracized and actually lose things than a so-called black supremacist?
Because there's been so many situations that if you say anything or do anything against a black person or even a person of color, you will lose your job. There's been so many situations. I mean, here in New York, there was that, I don't even know if he was white. I guess he's white. It was a white lawyer who said something to some Hispanic in some supermarket that for a week, people were outside his house.
No, you're absolutely right. No, you're right.
You know what? Like I said, you know what? If he was being racist, I mean, I don't know the whole situation. All I know is what's face value at this point. But I'll tell you one thing: nobody was okay with it. You saw it throughout the media. His name was dragged throughout the media, and
you're absolutely right.
And you know, rightly so if he was being racist.
Gotcha.
But I don't think he should have been harassed and you know, pretty much people went to his house to protest.
Yeah.
It was a little extreme.
So can you give me examples of attacks or things that black supremacists have done to basically harm people in comparative to white supremacists that have done that?
Well, with black supremacists, there was the shooting in Dallas that 7 officers died because, of course, there was injustice that happened. I don't remember the whole story, but all I remember is that there was a protest, and a black supremacist decided to kill cops, specifically white cops. He wanted to kill white cops, and he said it after they caught him.
And he called himself a black supremacist?
Yes.
Oh, he called himself a black supremacist under saying what? That he was part of Black Lives Matter?
I don't know 100% if he was under Black Lives Matter, but I definitely don't think that they help. Black Lives Matter is an organization that I believe started with good intentions, but unfortunately it spewed into this hatred towards white people and the cops, and then you get these black supremacists that appear. And like I said, I don't think it's because of Black Lives Matter that this happened, but I don't think they help either.
Gotcha. So let me start by saying a couple of things. There isn't no comparative supremacy to white supremacy. You can't have two supremes. That's a contradiction of terms. One can't be more supreme than the other. You can't have two supremes. That doesn't exist whatsoever throughout history. Throughout history, even till this day, you have very blatant examples of white supremacy constantly being done. The only point when people talk about black supremacy is whenever black people actually rise up or start talking. And that's a form of black supremacy that other people just like to point out, saying that, hey, this person's being racist because they're basically talking about their ills and things that's happening. In reality, In reality, there is no such thing, no documented proof of black supremacy whatsoever being done. No terroristic attacks that have been done in this country the same way as white supremacists have done terroristic attacks constantly throughout history. So those two terms of there's black supremacy, that's false. That you can't say something like that. They'll be intellectually dishonest.
I think what you're doing is you're taking a definition and changing it.
How?
What does black supremacy mean? What does supremacy mean? It's a belief that your race is superior to another race. So yeah, there can be black supremacy, there can be white supremacy. I think what you're talking about is just historical facts, and you know what? There has been historical facts of
Didi,
white people.
But Didi, this is where your argument loses its footing, because I could let's say I'm a goddamn zebra. I got zebra supremacy just because I believe that I am superior than all other four-legged mammals. Doesn't make it so. I have to have power behind it. Black people, unfortunately, don't have social and economic power behind their so-called supremacy. There's a lot of black people who believe, yes, they are superior than the white people for whatever reason, but guess what? They do not have social and economic and political power to or to back that belief. White supremacists do. There's one right now in the White House. White supremacists have that power to back that belief up. That's the difference.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you, because we have the media backing up every type of Black Lives Matter protest that happens. We have the media propping up any type of cop and black violence happening. We have celebrities, black celebrities, that prop up all these. What does the media?
What does the media have? What does the media have to do with laws, racially attacked laws?
The media can stir up some information within people and trigger them emotionally. They go off.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the people in Dallas, the shooting that happened in Dallas, the guy just ran off without any type of information and just was like, hey, I should kill some cops today. I should kill some racist white cops.
He made a manifesto. He made a manifesto. I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Micah McInnes, I believe that's his name. Micah. He made a manifesto, and he basically said that I hate the fact that these cops are getting away with murder, and he's going to take the law into his own hands. He wasn't a black supremacist because nothing protected him right after he did that. Nothing protected him. A couple of days ago, I'm gonna give you the difference. A couple of days ago, there was a white person, I believe in Louisiana, shot 2 cops and then started shooting multiple cops. Guess what? He was taken in alive. So the thing is, there's a system that protected him. You see, there's contradiction of terms here. You know what I'm saying? In Florida, we can even go back.
You're talking about something else at this point. You're not talking about supremacy.
No, we are talking about supremacy.
You're talking about a different issue.
No, we are talking about supremacy here. We are talking about supremacy because if you're talking about supremacy, we got to talk about the power that has that belief to back that supremacy up. Black people don't have that power, regardless if they believe. That's not what the definition of supremacy has. Of course it is. Of course it is.
No, it doesn't. If you look up the definition, it's in law.
It's in laws. It's in books. Even the people who actually implemented the laws in this country, they said that we are doing it under the supremacy of white men. So this is on laws. We actually have a law right now called the Dred Scott decision that has not been overturned, that basically said no black man could obey any rule that a white man is bound to obey, or whatever the case is. I forgot the wording. But
where is this?
It's called the Dred Scott decision. Look that up. It has not been overturned. It's been recently used in a court case not too long ago. So
where is this implemented? What state?
What state? This is a federal law. So all states, all 50 states.
Okay. I don't know anything about that, so I'm just going to take it at face value.
No, it's okay. People could search it up.
I'm not going to disagree with you when there's racist history with this country. Sure, yes. But have we moved past that? We are moving past that. I'm hoping. But because of all the issues that's been happening, we've been fighting racism with racism. That's my issue. And I know you keep going back to, I know you keep going back to the issue of how the only way you can get supremacy is by having the law back you up. You know what? I believe that's called institutional racism. And you know what? We can talk about that as a separate issue. So I'm not going to agree with you when you say there's no such thing as black supremacy, because there is. Because if you just take the plain definition of it, you have to agree. There's different types of supremacy.
Okay, let's first of all, let's define what white supremacy is first. So this is the definition of white supremacy: through speech, thought, and action, that people who are classified as white is superior amongst people has classified as non-white. That's been the working definition, and that's been a practice definition throughout history. Now tell me, throughout history, when did black people were supreme over white people? Please let me know.
Okay, so we need to look up the definition of black supremacy, because apparently there's a difference between the two now.
See, that's a contradiction right there. How can there be a difference between the two if they're both supposed to be supreme?
It's the idea. It's the idea.
That's kind of that's kind of a speculation, don't you think?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Isn't that kind of like, a straw man argument, I believe? Because just because you think something, that doesn't make it true.
You can look up the definition of black supremacy. It says here that it is a racial supremacist belief which maintains that black people are superior to people of other races.
Okay.
Doesn't say anything about laws. Doesn't say anything about whether
it doesn't have to, and I don't have to go based by that definition. Can you let me know where you got that definition from? Can you let me know the website? What?
It's Wikipedia.
Oh, it's Wikipedia. Okay.
Law and Southern Poverty Law also. It's referenced by the Southern Poverty Law.
Okay. So I'm gonna literally believe white supremacists who write that's the definition of what black supremacist is. Okay.
So then, how are we gonna have? I don't think we're ever gonna agree on anything if you're gonna keep throwing that red herring out.
No, because the thing,
there's no way that you can believe anything written because it might be a white supremacist.
No, because the thing is that if we're gonna be looking at definitions, we gotta look at examples of this definition, and you could look at any definition, and you could definitely point out multiple examples. You have not yet pointed out one example of black supremacy besides that Dallas shooting, and I'm telling you right now, and this is proven by the person who was committing the shootings, that he wasn't doing it because he's a black supremacist or whatsoever, because there was no system that protected him after he committed those murders. Like,
can I ask you something before we go there?
What's up?
Just because Donald Trump says he's not a white supremacist, does that mean he's not a white supremacist?
Wait, make that point again.
I asked you, just because Donald Trump says he's not a white supremacist, does that mean he's not a white supremacist? He never said he was. He says all these things, but he never says he's a white supremacist. So can we take his word for it, or do we look at his actions and we judge from there?
So we're going to go based on we got to look at people's actions to see if they're called whatever they're called and all this other stuff? Is that what we're going at?
We need evidence to prove that these people are who we want to call them.
So now this is where
that fair?
This is my rebuttal to that. There's once again there has been no proven fact or throughout history where black people were superior amongst white people. You're calling out one action that this black person shot white cops. That did not affect white people all collectively whatsoever. So it doesn't matter. Listen, Micah could have been said, "Oh, I'm a black supremacist." That doesn't make it true. That does not make it true whatsoever, because once again, there's no such thing as black supremacy because it's a contradiction of terms. Once again, we're going back to the same thing. You can't have two supremes whatsoever, because when we're talking about black supremacy, how are black people superior collectively as a group, superior to white people collectively? Because when we're talking about hold on. When we're talking about supremacy,
I'm going to give you an answer. When you have laws that are overturned because of economical reasons,
like
and
what?
It's geared it towards
like what?
black people and people of color.
Like what? Give me
for example, like cutting down bail. Like trying to remove bail, trying to reduce sentences of people of color. Things like that, stuff that does affect the law. You have a lot of these Democrats that are fighting for these kind of laws that they pass through. They pass through here in New York, and even with that shooting that happened in Parkland, that kid, that Hispanic 18-year-old, had a lot
he wasn't
of
Hispanic.
issues.
He wasn't Hispanic.
And that wasn't.
He wasn't
My
Hispanic.
point is that it happened because that was something that people pushed because of black people. You have laws overturned to benefit black people, but unfortunately, it was a mistake, honestly, because if they were able to report that kid earlier, and it wasn't because of the color of his skin, it's because of his actions and how he was behaving, we wouldn't have lost any lives that day. And I think black people have a big push in the laws. Like, it shows when you have laws overturned and try to I guess diminish some issues within the black community.
And that's supposed to be a form of black supremacy, overturning laws?
You asked me if there was any way that black people have influenced laws, and I answered.
No, I what I was trying to ask you is, if there is such thing as black supremacy, can you give me any examples of black people affecting white people collectively? And I don't know nothing about the laws. Laws get overturned not by black people, it's by these politicians who want to pander to the black vote. Yeah, that's cool, but that's not an example. If we're talking about supremacy, let's talk about supremacy. Let's talk about how white supremacy affects black people and Latin people collectively. If we really want to talk about supremacy, because there's no such thing as black supremacy, because there's no evidence of black supremacy affecting people, white people especially, collectively.
Like I said, I think we're going back and forth with the definition, and we're not settled on one. So if we're going to go this route, we can talk about how, just so we're on the same page, we can talk about how the effects of black supremacy does affect white people collectively. You know what? I'm not going to go and say that black supremacy affects them as like a huge whole, but I think it affects them in these pockets that are very important. And I say that in the sense of, like I said, a lot of these black supremacist groups that you can find online, you can find Facebook groups of these where they spew this hatred, and it snowballs into violence. Like I said, the whole thing with the Dallas, you don't want to say he's a black supremacist. You know what? I can't make you say anything, but it's pretty obvious that this man hated white people, and he wanted to kill them, and he loved his race. He even had like Facebook groups that he joined, and Black Power and all this jazz. So I'm just going to say that for now. But you have other situations where there was a black man in Texas that went into a church and shot up some people, and it was the same deal. He just wanted to shoot some white crackers.
I don't know about
that. You didn't even hear it that much.
I don't know nothing about the Texas thing. I have to look that up.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. You don't hear that much about these type of issues because the media doesn't push it. And why? Because they don't want to put that out there. They don't want to put that out there that there are black people attacking white people. And there's so many situations. There was that kid with the disabled kid with the MAGA hat that was attacked by
the group of black people.
Terrible people.
And what the media did was say that Black Lives Matter kidnapped someone and started attacking them and stuff like that. But this is where the supremacy comes in. Black supremacy didn't help them out because they got locked up less than 24 hours. They're in jail right now. So where's the supreme? Where is the protection of supremacy?
But that's not what supremacy is.
Of course it is.
The definition into something else.
It's not about what. It's not about my definition. Is what the definition is. We could look at laws. We could look at books, and we could look at what people put down. The fact that the supremacy is that I am superior than you, and I have power to affect that. That's basically what supremacy is. Everybody talks about black supremacy, name calling, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no law, no power.
People were violently attacked.
Okay,
There's so many situations.
besides the Dallas and besides the Dallas shooting and that church got thing in Texas that I don't even know about. I gotta look that up. Name me some other black
I think it happened
supremacy.
last year.
Name me a couple of black supremacists that you call that are violently attacking people.
There's what you're looking for.
I could name Timothy McVeigh. What I could name is the Waco. What I could name is the people who went the white supremacists who were reading these Turner diaries and went on bank robberies and started shooting up people all over the place. What I could name is the Vegas.
And specifically targeting
Vegas.
black people, or you're just saying they're just going off and killing people and they just happen to be white supremacists and the laws back them up? Did they end up going to jail? Did they end up getting killed? Did the law protect them?
Wait a minute. Hold on. Make that point again, because I love where you're going.
You said, you said you were mentioning these cases.
Yeah.
And I asked you, well, then I'm going to put it back on you. So were they arrested? Were they placed in jail? Were they killed? Did the system help them to get out of that mess?
So
were they unfairly prosecuted and they made it out scot-free?
So what you're trying to ask me is that if white supremacists did all these horrendous acts, how come they're not just walking away free?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is that white supremacy basically works in conjunction with everything else. If a white supremacist is harming other white people, best believe you're going to get arrested, whatever the case is. If you're harming just black people or Latin people, not that much, but mainly black people, and you get a good enough lie, you're most likely going to walk away free. And we have evidence of that. Zimmerman, Pantaleo, the Eric Garner guy, Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray. So we got basically examples of these type of things happening. Where we're talking about is that these white supremacists who go into mass shootings or go into terroristic attacks are labeled terrorists. And because they're labeled terrorists, obviously they're going to do something. But guess what? They still get protected because they either get years reduced or they start caping for them. For example, the Parkland shooter that you mentioned earlier, they kept on saying that he is mentally ill. And they kept on running that game that he's mentally ill when he had no history of mental illness. For the church shooter, Dylan Roof, they did the same thing. Oh, he's mentally ill. He doesn't really know anything. He's just a poor kid, lone wolf, blah, blah, blah. And he actually went back to court because he was like, no, I know exactly what I was doing. I wanted to kill black people because this is a race war. And guess what? I want the death penalty. He actually had to beg for the death penalty. So regardless if they get arrested, they still have a system to protect them and make it more lax, make it much better for them so that it doesn't have to be that rough. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, either way.
One thing you failed to mention with the whole thing, and I said it earlier, the Parkland shooter, that was a Hispanic child.
That wasn't a Hispanic kid. That wasn't a Hispanic kid.
He was Hispanic.
No, he wasn't. He was adopted. He was adopted. He was adopted. Did you know that?
He had a lot of mental issues.
Didi. Didi. He was adopted. Did you know that?
He's Hispanic.
He was adopted. Did you know that?
I'm not even sure of that. I'm not 100%
he
sure
was
with that.
he was adopted. He was adopted. And in the end of the day,
actually, I think he was adopted after his mother died, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
And you can correct me on that. It's fine. But I know that
he was adopted.
I'll tell you one thing. That kid had a lot of issues because he had no father. His mother died a few months prior, not even that long ago, before the shooting. and he was on medication. Like this kid,
Wait, so are you trying to empathize because he had a lot of issues and a lot of things going on with him?
I'm saying it wasn't because he was white that he made it through. You're making it seem like, oh yeah, sure, he had mental issues. He did have mental issues. Same thing with Dylan Root. Dylan Root was psycho. He was psycho. He was like straight up psycho. And if he was racist along with it, then he was racist along with it. I don't think Cruz was racist. I don't believe he was racist. He didn't shot anybody because he was angry and he was picked on.
There were online comments made by Cruz calling black people monkeys and the N-word. There's online accounts of Cruz talking about that I'm gonna shoot up the school, pew pew pew, like this is a fucking video game, and calling people of color racially terms, and also after they denounced that he was part of this white supremacist organization, it came out that they believed the guy was lying, that he denounced it because he didn't want to catch heat off of that. And there's a lot of evidence saying that Cruz actually did interact with him, wasn't part of the organization, but he did interact with this guy. So there's a lot of
misinformation with that. I see
sorry, what?
From the left and the right with that, and honestly, it's not even clear, and it's a shame. But I'll tell you one thing for sure: this kid was supposed to be on medication. He went off on medication. And he went bonkers. And
are we supposed to lax him? And we're supposed to lax him on that? Is that giving him an excuse?
No, I didn't. No. Like this guy deserves jail. He deserves the book being thrown at him. And it's unfortunate that his mental state got him there. But it is what it is. And you
know what? The Dallas guy also, he was going through a lot of things too. There was a lot of racism that was being done with him. There was a lot of police shootings that was being done in his community. There was a lot of things going on with him. So I believe that, Micah, the Dallas shooter, he was going through a lot of things. So if we're going to be lumping in all these, people that with mental illness and mental deficiencies and all this other stuff, let's start lumping everyone in.
There was a record. There was a record of this kid. No, but what I'm saying is that Cruz should have been he should have been in jail a long time ago. Because they knew what was going on with Cruz.
Zimmerman should have been in jail. Zimmerman should have been in jail a long time ago too. The system of white supremacy protected him.
Zimmerman. Now here's the thing with Zimmerman. Zimmerman had, right after the whole thing that happened, the whole Trayvon Martin. First of all, I don't even know how to start with this, but I'll say one thing. He was part of the community. He was like a watch person, whatever. And he's been known to mentor black children. Neighbors talk about it. At least the people that want to talk about it. And they have to hide in the shadows when they talk about it. You can see it throughout news reports.
That is not true.
He was there for people of the community.
That is not true. That is not true.
It is
that is not true.
And you can see news.
That is not true. Listen, they said that he was a church-going man. I don't believe that. That doesn't negate anything because there's multiple evidence that he used to call the police on black people just walking in his neighborhood. That they lived there.
You mean people who don't belong?
That they lived there. He used to call them constantly. In 1 month, he called them like 20-something times of people who live there. And mind you, this is a gated community, so you just can't just come in and out. These are people, exactly. So these are people that actually live there. Okay, and secondly, there's a bunch of recordings.
Did Trayvon Martin live there? I'm not excusing what happened.
I'm gonna get to Trayvon Martin in a minute. There's a lot of recordings of him calling black people monkeys and the N-word and all this other stuff. This guy painted a Confederate flag and starts signing it and giving them away. A Confederate flag. This dude walks around with Confederate memorabilia on himself. So yes, he is a white supremacist. And anybody who denies that is a suspected white supremacist. And the
Am I one?
the thing with Trayvon Martin is that he was visiting his father. Him and his father were visiting someone who lived there. So yes, he had the right to be there.
All right, I'll give you that. But I'll tell you one thing: it's unfortunate that that he lost his life. It is. I don't think anybody should lose their lives at all. Like I don't think anybody has a right to take another person's life. It's wicked and it's evil, and they don't have a decision to do that. Just absolutely no. But from my understanding, and the reason why Zimmerman got away with it wasn't because of white supremacy. It was because of the evidence that was placed before. Now, you know what? I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Brad. Maybe he was a racist. Maybe he was. Maybe he did, did all these things. I'll give you that. But here's the issue. What actually happened that day? How did he get away with it? And I know you're going to say it's because of white supremacy and it's because of the justice system moving towards this Hispanic man. Hispanic, not white, but Hispanic.
He's white.
He's Hispanic.
He's white. He calls himself white. He classifies himself as white. His dad is white. His mom is Latina, but classifies herself as white. Regardless of her skin color, Latinos have this privilege in this country where they could flip-flop with races. And the system protects them on that, saying it's totally fine. You can flip-flop with races all you want. So, yes, he is a white man.
He's not a white man.
He's a white man. He's a white man. Hispanic is in the race. He's a white man.
You want to call him that, but by
I'm calling what he calls himself. I'm not calling him anything he doesn't call himself. He calls himself a white man.
You are right. You are right. White. Whenever they do surveys, they lump Hispanics in with whites. Yeah, I agree with you. And if people want to do that with themselves, I don't agree with them. But you know what? If we're going to talk statistics, I guess we're going to have to do that. Or you call yourself black. It's one or the other. But I'm going to call him what he is. He's half white and half black. If you want to call him white, you can call him white. I'm going to call him Hispanic because that's just the fact.
Yeah, okay.
Now, here's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So now here's the deal. That day, whether Zimmerman was right or wrong about following him, because he did follow him, he wasn't sure about him, he called, and he wasn't sure about him and whatever. Eventually, Trayvon Martin lost him and went back and found him and confronted him. Now this is where the issue comes. He confronted him and he assaulted him to the point that he was screaming in the recordings. And as much as people want to say it wasn't Zimmerman, it was actually Trayvon, and his family swears by it was their son. It was not him. It was Zimmerman. And you can see because he was taken and his head was bashed into the concrete. This guy had a hold on this man, and he had no choice but to defend himself. Now, like I said,
he didn't have nothing to defend himself? He had a gun on him. What are you talking about?
He had no other choice but to defend himself. Zimmerman had no other choice but to defend himself. And yes, this man was violent. He went after the guy. He could have just left him alone and filed a report or whatever the case may be. And if we want to talk about their characters, Trayvon was not a saint. He got expelled from school 3 times.
That doesn't mean anything. Getting expelled. Listen, getting expelled.
He stole jewelry.
Getting
jewelry from a woman,
expelled.
And
listen,
he spray painted the place.
Getting expelled doesn't mean anything. Spray painting doesn't mean that you're gonna start killing people. Okay, spray painting doesn't mean anything. Spray painting basically it comes spray. I'm gonna get into the history.
And then robbing somebody's jewelry.
See, I don't know nothing about the whole robbing thing.
Yeah,
and I doubt that.
He robbed somebody's jewelry and he used a screwdriver.
Yeah, I doubt that. What did Trayvon? What should Trayvon have done? What should have Trayvon done?
He should have just left.
That's what he was doing. He did leave.
No, he went back and confronted him.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he didn't. He didn't. The girl on his friend.
If you look,
there's no video on it. His friend, was on the phone, and she was like, "What are you doing right now?" He was like, "I'm running away from this guy. Somebody's following me. I'm running away." This is a witness on the phone with him, and the phone disconnects when Zimmerman confronts Trayvon. Trayvon wasn't doing anything. He was running away.
There's the court case. It's up online.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, listen. The court case acquitted Trayvon Zimmerman. So white supremacy. You're gonna tell me go back to the court case because of white supremacy? I don't have to.
No. What I'm saying, you can see the evidence there that proves that he went and assaulted Zimmerman, and that's why he got away with it. It wasn't because of white supremacy.
It was because of white it was because of white supremacy. There was no bruises in his hands. There was no cuts.
What are you talking about? There was a gash in his head.
Wait. Hold on. Trayvon Martin had no bruises in his hands. That's evidence. There's no cuts in Trayvon Martin's hands. That's evidence. The gun doesn't have Trayvon Martin's DNA on it. That's evidence. So if you're talking about let's look at evidence, let's look at evidence. Let's look at all evidence. How come the concrete didn't have speck of George Zimmerman's blood? None of the concrete blocks had George Zimmerman's blood on it. How come? So now we have to question a white supremacist killing a black kid. Yeah, I think those wounds are self-inflicted. I'm gonna go on the limb and say that, because if we're talking about let's look at that evidence, let's look at that evidence.
He's becoming violent, pushes me to the ground. Now he's grabbing my head, shoving it into the concrete, and the only defense I have is to go to my holster and take out my gun.
Yeah.
Guess what? I would think to myself, this man is a danger to society, and I need to stop this, or I'm going to die right now.
We could go through this whole case piece by piece. I don't want to, harp on everything else. I remember we were talking and you said, I asked you a question about what are your theories on why the black community is in the state that they're in, and would you mind elaborating more on that?
Sure. Now, the whole thing with the black community, I just want to start off by saying it does break my heart to see to see how the black community is being handled. It does hurt me that I see that you have these mothers that are single mothers. They have to have 3 jobs just to take care of their kids, and meanwhile their kids don't have any type of parental guidance, so they go into these gangs and they have to find some kind of family, some kind of purpose through that. And I think it's unfortunate because you have these celebrities, these black celebrities that promote this kind of life, and you even have politicians that pretty much excuse it. And my issue is that single motherhood is promoted. Violent crimes and gangster life is promoted. Sex out of wedlock is promoted.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna have to interject here. Gangster lifestyle. You're talking about rap music, correct?
I'm saying the lifestyle. Maybe I'm using it wrong. Maybe I'm using the term wrong. Gangster, as in like being a criminal, and even the music that promotes that.
So we're talking about rap music that promotes gangster lifestyle that influences these kids to get into whatever they're going to get into, correct?
Yeah, like these gang lives.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So, one, I believe you need to update your stereotypes, because most rappers nowadays they don't talk about, actually for a couple of years now, they don't talk about gang violence or gangster stuff. They don't talk about none of that stuff. What they do talk about is heavy drug use. That's what they talk about. So they don't talk about gangster stuff or selling drugs or. Listen, I grew up in around the. I grew up. I grew up around the. I grew up around the 90s. So I grew up around that era where drug dealing was doing its thing. You see the Mob Deeps and all them, the True Lives and all that. So I know what that is, but that's not basically glorifying it, because the biggest buyers of rap music are white people. So if we're talking about music, and rap music especially, being a big influencer on these black kids' lives, how come it's not being done with white people who are the biggest mass marketers, purchasers of this music?
Well, who says it isn't? Single motherhood is within the white community.
We're focusing on the music right now. That's what we're focusing on. Because you said there was a lot of there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of layers here. So that's why I want to unpack certain things first. So because you said single motherhood, the gangster lifestyle, correct? And you also said the kids out of wedlock, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to tackle each one first, and I want to tackle rap music first. So.
And drug use, by the way.
Okay, the drug use. Can you tell me how come these white people aren't affected the same way black people are affected by the same music?
Like I said, they are. The percentage of single motherhood is going up within the white community.
No, we're talking about the gangster stuff. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about single motherhood. We're talking about the gangster stuff first. Because you said rap music glorifies gangster stuff. So how come these white people who are the mass purchasers of rap music, how come they're not affected the same way as black people?
Well, we got to talk about the fact that white people are the majority of the United States. So, of course, white people are going to be it's going to be more percentage towards white people than anything, because they just have the majority already. So that's one thing. Another thing would be, if you're going to talk about the influence within the white communities, yeah, it does affect. It does affect there's. If we're going to talk about like gangster lifestyle, I would say the drug use and the selling of drugs goes along with it. Unfortunately, I don't have any statistics to show you, but it is very influenced.
You're not answering the question. How come these white communities aren't affected the same way black communities are with this rap music?
You have a lot of there's so many situations where you see white kids like killing themselves because they overdose.
We're not talking about killing themselves. We're talking about gangster. You specifically just said that gangster music, rap music, perpetuates and glorifies this gangster lifestyle. And I just gave you a fact that the majority of people purchasing rap music are white. So how come they're not being affected?
Okay. We also have to take in the fact that maybe these white communities not only just, maybe they have a mother and a father.
Really?
Maybe they have mother and father, and maybe they go to a better off school. Maybe it's these suburban areas.
Really?
Maybe there's other factors that go along with it. That counteracts with the music.
The Columbine shooters had mother and fathers. Guess what happened? There's a lot of examples of people having mother and fathers that doesn't really mean anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of a straw man argument, don't you think? Because mother and fathers doesn't really mean that you're gonna come out you're gonna come out great or whatever the case is.
Well, I didn't say that. I'm just saying if you want to talk about, well, how come? Well, I'm just saying that, well, maybe it's the fact that they have parents that guide them away from that. Maybe it's the fact that they go to a school that stops that type of action from happening. Maybe they're just well off.
Well off.
Maybe
And why do you think they're well off?
Because their family made sure that they went to a good school.
And how did they make sure of that?
By making the right decisions. Making sure you don't get married out of wedlock. Like, you don't get married, making sure that you get married and have a child and stay together. Getting a job that will sustain a family. Not leaving your child.
And you think that white supremacy doesn't affect all of that?
No, I think this is just personal choices.
Personal choices, okay.
Yeah.
So,
and there's black people within those white communities that are doing just as well.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, there's white people what?
There's black people within those white communities. There's always that one black person. You always hear about it. It's like, that's my black friend in that one suburban area.
Listen, of course, and shouts out to them. They had to do what they had to do. The thing is...
Exactly, I believe they work just as hard as the white people. And
why do you think they had to work just as hard? Or harder?
No, I don't think they had to work harder. I think they just worked just as hard. I think everybody did their own share.
See, this is the thing. There's been studies that came out a while back, actually not too long ago, that stated white high school dropouts earn more than black college graduates. I literally post this on my Twitter all the goddamn time. And that's white supremacy at work. There's another study. There's another study that came out saying that racial unemployment is at an all-time high. That's another effect of white supremacy. There was another study that came out saying that if an employer sees a name that looks too black, they'll just rip up the application. So these are things that actually happen. Just because there's one or two qualified black people in certain upscaled, upright positions doesn't negate the fact that there's no white supremacy there. Doesn't negate the fact that there is no racism there. Yes, those are the one or two that were lucky enough to get to that position, but guess who were the ones making that decisions? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't really negate anything. Those people are there pretty much to say, listen, we're not that racist. Why? Because we have one black person there. You know what I mean? So that's the...
I think I think that's a disservice to say that these people were lucky enough to be chosen to be the token. I don't think it's that way at all.
No, they're qualified. I'm not saying that they're not qualified. No, they're qualified. But we have to keep it 100% real. They were chosen. They were chosen, one or two. That's it. Boom. Why? For many other reasons. I won't get into that right now. I got into that many other times, but they were chosen, and that's something that we have to basically face. And it's absolutely true. They were chosen.
They were chosen because they were qualified. And there's so many programs. So tell me about affirmative action.
Affirmative action. Listen, tell me what affirmative action is.
Affirmative action is a way to get black people into these colleges, just to make sure they have a certain amount of black people in there.
Okay, and you believe education is the key to success, and education is going to actually get you a better job when you have white people, white supremacists is what I call it. I'm not just saying all white people. No, I'm saying white supremacists in these jobs, denying them based on race, but they're educated. And you don't see there's no correlation to that whatsoever.
Now, if I could just pick on one thing that you said before about the fact that, oh, black employers see a black name and they just rip up the application and throw it out. Now, I'm not saying this is okay if it is true, because I don't know if I can necessarily believe it, but here's one thing that I could almost imagine. If they see a name that they don't like, in the sense of, oh, that might be somebody who is going to come in here and they're going to behave a certain way. If I see Billy Bob on an application, I'm going to think to myself, this is a redneck. I don't want a redneck here. Unfortunately, yes, there is some type of discrimination and prejudging happening.
So you're saying it's okay.
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying it happens, but I think it's just preference at this point. I think it's just a preference thing.
And you're basically just admitting that racism does play a part.
Racism on both sides, sure.
Racism on both sides. These are white employers.
Not everywhere you go to has a higher up that's all white.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying that, but the majority of them do.
I've worked in situations where I'm next to and it's not just the name. It's not just the names. I've worked with managers, and they looked at resumes and they throw it out. And some people would see and they would say, oh, it's because there's a black name on it. No, it's because they see the resume is 2 pages long. They're not going to read that, throw it out. Oh, they see that they misspelled their address. They're going to throw it out. Now, there's so many other factors, unless they admit, and nobody's going to admit it. Here's the thing.
Well, no, that's why we have to suspect. That's why we have to suspect certain people. And I think that you're kind of like you're kind of empathizing with these type of people, and you don't want to admit of white supremacy and these type of examples that I'm giving.
I don't think it's white supremacy. I just think it's a preference at this point.
So if somebody denies someone with a black name just because their resume is 2 pages long, that's not white supremacy. But when a white person has the same thing and they get accepted, that's just it's coincidence.
If we're comparing apples to apples, yeah, I'm gonna say that is. That shows that there's something wrong. But
that's white supremacy, right there.
But usually the case is there's something else wrong with the resume. And here's the issue: everything that we're talking about just automatically assumes it's because of white supremacy. Now, I'm not gonna give white people that much power over me, because they don't. I have freedom. I live in America. You have more freedom. If you were black and go into another country, they're not going to treat you as good as they do here. That's just the truth. I'm sorry. And you could talk about, like, you know, cops killing black people when they're killing much more criminals that are white than black. But that's besides the point. You're going to be treated a lot better because we have freedom here, okay? But my point is that I'm not going to. White supremacy isn't this all-knowing being that's everywhere, and it's trying to take down black people. I just don't agree with you. I just honestly don't agree with you.
It's totally fine. That's the reason why we're having this.
Because I just can't give white people that much power over me, even if they say something or do something.
We could go up and down and say, I'm not giving this person much power, I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that. We don't have the power to control if somebody's going to give us a job or a loan or a home. We don't have the power to control that. These people are in the position to control those type of things. Yeah. And if you meet someone with these racial views of you, guess what? It's going to be a dangerous situation for yourself. So yes.
And then
yes, even if you do believe this person, hunky cracker doesn't have anything, because I don't really like saying those things because it doesn't really matter. But you could say all of that in your head. This person doesn't have no power over me. But guess what? When you apply for that job, yes they do. Guess what? When you want that car loan or that home loan, yes they do. You know what I mean?
It's not because of their race. It's because
of their race. It is because of their race.
But you're not obligated to go to that bank. You're not obligated to just go to that job. You have other options.
And this is the thing.
Work in a company that's racist anyway.
And this is the thing. We don't know who's racist or not, so we have to assume certain people being white supremacists. We have to assume, because they're not just going to tell us that. So they're just going to use all the little...
you automatically, that's my point, you automatically assume.
Because I'm a victim of white supremacy. So I don't have to be here of, what did they think? Oh my God. Let's read a memoir. Let's read a memoir of the deepest thoughts and secrets. I don't have time for that. I already know what these people are looking as. I already know what these people are treating me as, because I'm a victim of white supremacy. So I have the right to suspect certain people. I'm not saying that they are, but I'm suspecting them. But with that suspicion, and if they come with more clues and red flags coming out with that suspicion, guess what? I'm going to graduate them to like, okay, you are a full-blown white supremacist because A, B, C, and D. People who are classified as non-white are just moving about their day. They bought Skittles. They're going home. Guess what? They're being targeted. They're being targeted, and guess what? They're going to experience what they're going to experience. So you don't have to commit crime to experience white supremacy.
Well, when you talk about incarceration, if you're talking about people being placed in jail, yeah, we have to talk about being criminals. The reason why blacks and Hispanics are incarcerated more than white people is because they commit more crimes.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Even if they're petty crimes.
That's not true.
It adds up. All that stuff adds up, and you eventually just being caught with a dime bag.
Didi, that's not true. That is not true. The crime, especially in the black... no, it's not. The crime, especially in the black community, is all-time low. It's an all-time low. Even recently, the New York commissioner said that New York has been more safe than ever. The thing is that since it's low, they have to make these crazy laws that just, okay, we're going to incriminate everybody. Just because this whole Junior thing recently, this whole Junior stuff that happened, he got chopped up by that, Dominican gang. Now you got cops basically stopping frisking and just stopping every Dominican kid out here or Dominican adult. Just because you look Latin, you're part of a gang, and guess what? We're gonna take you in, and we're gonna question you, and you're not gonna go away because guess what? You were looting outside the store. You know what I'm saying? So they'll catch you with anything. There's a lot of cases of kids just going to the corner to the corner store and saying what's up to their friend, and then a van pulls up, arrests him and all those kids around. And it's like, yo, I didn't know who these people are. Yes, you do. You all part of a gang, and because of this and this and this, and this one person that you guys don't know had drugs on him, guess what? Everybody's getting arrested. That happens all the time.
Yeah, and that's called being an accomplice, and that's unfortunate.
That happens all the time, though.
This is my problem. This is my problem with the black/Hispanic community. You need to start ostracizing yourself when you know you're hanging out with people that associates with people like that associates with criminals. We need to start saying that that's bad. That's not okay.
But wait.
We're not going to hang out with you anymore.
Now you're changing the subject, because that's not what I said. The kid didn't. Once again, there's stories out here that people don't even know each other. They only know that one person. What's up? That's all they're saying. What's up? And they're just minding their own business, and they get locked up for that.
But that's just how the law goes. You're an accomplice.
There we go. You're giving excuses to white supremacy. This is white supremacy at work, and you're giving excuses to that.
No, because that's just the law. That's just how my father.
It was the
With
law
my
not to
father,
hire black
who is-
people for jobs. It was the law. It was the law to chase down runaway slaves and hang them. That was the law. Jim Crow was the law. That doesn't make
Okay,
it
but is
right.
that the law now? No, it's not the law now.
But the thing is,
get incriminated if
you're
you
finding
take down a
you're
black
finding
person and
excuses for white supremacy. That's what I'm telling you. That's what you're doing. You're finding excuses for white supremacy. You're just saying, well, if they don't hang out with criminals, they're not hanging out. They just know one person who is not a criminal, who is just there, and there's criminals around him. He doesn't know him. He's probably waiting for somebody, and you're lumping all of them in. That's the same thing that white supremacists do. They lump everybody in, and that's what these laws do. They lump everybody in, and guess what? They put you into that system, and you can't get out. You can't get a job. You can't get loans. You can't get anything like that. So that's what happens.
If you go through the system, and let's get one thing clear: all judges, all police officers are not robots. They don't operate the same way. They don't. And I understand you're talking about the law, but here's the thing. Everybody's going to make different type of judgment calls. And we could only suspect why they decided to do that. And we can look at the evidence and judge from there. But the thing is, when you're hanging out with people, like I said, my father is a correction officer, and he told me all the time, if you know you're hanging out with people, you don't know that one person, leave. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. The best thing that could probably happen is that the cops will show up, and they'll put you in handcuffs, and you leave. The worst thing that can happen is that somebody has a gun, somebody pushes another person, and now there's a fight, and now you're part of it. Now, like I said, the problem with the black community and the Hispanic community is that we don't say that that's not okay, and we need to move away from these type of people and ostracize them. Just like how we ostracize Nazis and white supremacists, and we try to get them lose their jobs and all that stuff. We should do the same thing within the black community.
And why do you think these criminals do what they do?
Because they're evil at heart. I think everybody is evil.
Yeah, and you don't think white supremacy? And you think white supremacy has nothing to do with why they commit crimes?
So you're giving an excuse?
No,
just like the Dallas shooter. He was angry at white cops.
What about the Dallas shooter?
Does that give him an excuse to do something so heinous like that?
First, those are apple and oranges. That has no connection. The thing, what I'm trying to tell you is that when you're talking about criminals, especially, let's be clear, especially in the hood, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Especially in the hood. When we're talking about economically deprived areas. These are areas that's been redlined by the white supremacists to be places where poverty is going to stay. This is all orchestrated. So there are resources that's taken away from those communities. And guess what's going to happen? Crime is obviously going to happen. Crime happens in white communities all the time. If you go into the middle of America, guess what? You're going to find these trailer parks full of crime. White people killing each other, doing the same thing that happens in the hood. The thing is that we trying to demonize black people and say, well, it's black and black crime. So it is what it is, blah, 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 and all this other stuff, trying to put, well, this is the reason why they do it because of, it's their culture, that racist shit. But the thing is, that's why it happens, because of economic issues. Crime in the hood is economically based. And this is throughout history. Back in the 1920s, there was a bunch of gangs. The first gangs in New York were all white. Polish, Italian, Irish, German, Albanian, all of them were white. And guess what? All of them committed crimes. All of them killed each other. All of them did whatever they had to do. They stole jewelry. They did what they had to do to survive. Why? Because the economics in that area was extremely low. And guess what the government ended up doing? The government ended up coming in there, introducing programs. They started to give money to the people. They started to give land to the people. And I did actually a show a couple of weeks ago just on that fact. But this is what the government did. They came out and helped these people out. And guess what ended up happening? They started the middle class, the white middle class. That's how these white people ended up getting money. And that's how these unions started. So they helped out the white community, but for some reason, when it comes to us, oh, we're just criminals. We don't even know what's going on. We can't really say too much because we don't know how to fix it. But yet, throughout history, you do see that they actually did fix it. So that's the reason why in these neighborhoods...
The only type of gangs that I can honestly talk about is probably for within the white community is the Italian gangs, that they would have these mafias. Now, the thing with the mafias is that they had standards. Even though they were wicked people too, and they killed people, and it was terrible. But they were like, we don't kill women and children. We make sure we do this certain way. We have other jobs. We have businesses. It was just kind of like they were smart about it. I'm not saying it's okay, not at all.
Black people did that same thing too.
But it's not. So you're telling me they have businesses?
Yeah,
and then
Frank.
they employ people?
Frank Lucas, Bumpy Johnson, Alpo, AZ,
What type of businesses?
and all of them. It doesn't. They have businesses. The whole point is just like the mafia. They have. The whole point is they have businesses.
The mafia had bakeries. They had bars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they had businesses. They had businesses to launder their money.
What was the business?
Yeah, okay. They had Frank Lucas had a bunch of warehouses for cars. That was one business. He had a bunch of restaurants, a bunch of laundromats. This dude actually bought a whole truck full of turkeys and started giving them away. So yes, they had businesses to clean their money up.
But so you're telling me every single black gangster has a business?
If we're talking, yes, that's how you clean your money. You have to have a business to clean your money.
Okay, but it's not.
That's what the Italian mob does. That's what the Italian mob does. They don't have businesses just so they can empower their community. They have businesses to clean their money.
It just so happened to empower their community.
No, it doesn't.
And you know what?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because they start committing crimes and all of this other stuff.
Which I agree. But here's the thing. I was talking about these black businesses that you were talking about that happen to be like gangsters as well. Is that the norm for black people, or was that the norm for the Italians? It was the norm for Italians. Like, I even know in my neighborhood here, which a couple of, I want to say like maybe 10 years ago, found out this bakery was owned by mafias.
Listen, that's not true. It takes one individual to come and say, listen, we got to organize this criminal empire and actually do the things the legit way. Okay? What we were talking about first before you got into this whole mob talk, what we were talking about is, criminals out here just, committing crime. That's all. They're not part of no organization that actually has to abide by some rules that they set. Okay? We're just talking about regular people, 6 or 7 people who just sell drugs and just come back and all right, they all make money and that's about it. That's all they care about. But you went to this whole mob talk and you try to make it seem like only white people kind of legitimize how mobsters move. No, there's a bunch of people that actually did. Even black people. Frank Lucas actually started making way more money than the Italian mob. There was a movie that came out. There was a movie that came out.
But my point is that you're talking about outliers. You're talking about specific individuals, which is, I give them props. If you are able to do your gangster life and bring a business in within the same time and make it legitimate, you know what? I gotta tip my hat towards something at that point. I still think it's wrong, but that's not the regular thing with the black community.
And it's not the regular thing.
Drugs within their own community.
It's not the regular thing for the white community either. You just singled out mob, and you basically lumped all white people into that mob mentality, which is not true. Because all white people don't get organized.
I know about the Italian mobs. I'm not saying all white people, but I'm saying this specific big group, this sector here, had a business going on, and they work with each other. Black people don't work with each other like that, where they make sure that they have a business to fall back on.
And I just told you, I gave you examples. Bumpy Johnson, Frank Lucas, Alpo
But I'm talking about the whole. I talked about the whole Italian mafia.
Yeah, and that was not the whole. That was not the whole subset of Italy. Okay, there's a bunch of fucked up Italians that I could bring you to. That doesn't mean that all Italians do that.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the ones that were gangsters, they had a business to fall back on. Almost all of them, and they worked together to make that happen.
And
Black people don't work together like that, unfortunately. So they don't have something to fall back on. Now there are some individuals that work together, which is, you know what? They're hustling. They're doing their thing. So I get it. But that's not a whole black community there. The whole black community doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Okay,
they just get their own.
And
they only focus on themselves. And if they do a business, usually it's them selling drugs within their community, which harms their community. And like I said, we need to start saying something about that, because that's a big issue. Because if you say it's white supremacy that are hurting these communities, well, black people aren't helping.
What do you mean black people aren't helping? How can they help if they don't have no power to actually do anything?
Stop selling drugs. When you find out there's somebody selling drugs,
Stop selling drugs. This is the only way I could feed my family. Because I can't get a job because I did 20 plus applications and they all rejected me because of racism.
Because of your name?
No, because of racism.
I don't think it's because of that. I think it's probably because of the fact that you probably did something criminal, and then when they checked your records, you don't get the job.
That's white supremacy.
No, and it's not white supremacy.
Yes, it is.
You committed a crime, even if they were petty crimes, and they were
petty crimes.
And I think that's just a decision that these people decide to do.
Petty crimes to major crimes, white people still get hired. Regardless, okay? There's white high school dropouts that earn more and get better jobs than black college graduates. This is a fact. So if we're talking,
but then we got to talk about the variables.
There you go. We're gonna have to go all over around the world just to you're being intellectually dishonest right now.
There's variables that make a world of difference.
But you're being intellectually dishonest right now. If I'm giving not at all, because if I'm giving you
when you don't mention those variables.
Variables could be very skewed. You should know that, and we all should know that. Variables could be very skewed. The thing is, variables is just a cop out to basically not point out white supremacy, and I'm pointing out white supremacy.
No, that's not true at all. Variables are very important because they alternate the whole statistics and the outcomes. If you're dealing with if the statistics that you're mentioning, you're dealing with a college dropout, a white college dropout, or high school dropout. You said I'm not sure which one was it. High school dropout.
Yeah, high school dropout. Yeah.
Okay. That guy who doesn't have any criminal records, who's been working other jobs, who got his GED, versus a black college graduate who doesn't have the best grades, didn't went to the best college, has a few some petty crimes behind him. That's speculation right there, because automatically you have to downgrade the black person. This is, first of all, there's been a lot of studies. But you already downgraded the white person. There was a lot of high school dropout.
No, this is a fact. It's not me just saying stuff. It's just not me just putting things out there. This is a fact. This is a study, and I could definitely send it to you, that white high school dropouts earn more and get better jobs than black college graduates. This is proving white supremacy. This is proving that education does not matter. This is proving that your looks do not. Your looks,
I don't think education matters.
Your looks do not matter. This is proving that everything that you did and all these other little qualifications that you got don't matter. What matters is that complexion. And if that complexion is the only basis that certain people are going to get ahead, we have to call out what it is. It's white supremacy.
Like I said, I need to look at the studies and see what the other variables are.
That's totally fine. I'll send it to you.
And that's fair enough. But like I said, there's other variables that do completely switch around the whole narrative. And I wouldn't go right away and just say it's white supremacy. I think, sure, there are some people who just rather work with a certain type of race, just like how I'm pretty sure you would rather work with a black person than work with a white person. That's just your preference. It's not necessarily. I wouldn't go as far as to say that you're racist. Let's keep it real. Obviously, that's your preference.
But let's keep it real. Let's say that is my preference. I'm not saying it is, but let's say it is my preference. That white person isn't gonna suffer because I don't hire him. Okay, that white person isn't gonna lose his home because I don't hire him. I'm just one individual. That's all. If I got money and I own a gym or whatever the case is, that one white person is not going to suffer. It does not cost them too much to drive down or go down a couple of blocks just to get another job.
The same thing about the black person.
Because unfortunately, a lot of we don't know. Once again, we don't know that white supremacist, who's a white supremacist, who's not. But unfortunately, the dominant society has a lot of businesses out here. We have to go to the dominant society just to get money, regardless. There aren't a lot of black and Latin people aren't in these big executive positions where they can actually hire people. Unfortunately, we don't. So we have to go to one white person that has a damn job just to even get hired, just to even get looked at. That's the difference.
There's so many. There's other opportunities. Like I said, you're not stuck with that one job. If you don't get that one job, then you can't make it.
You're being stuck with that thinking of this one job. We're talking about multiple jobs. If you're gonna literally have 10 jobs up on a board and one of them are black, and you're just gonna shoot a dart, guess what? You're gonna land in a bunch of white jobs that they own. So that one, black owner doesn't negate that one black applicant is gonna get a job or not. All right.
But you're just assuming that the black person isn't going to get the job.
This is not me assuming. This is fact based on this the study that white high school dropouts earn more and get better jobs.
You're just saying that white people are just more preferred over black people.
What I'm saying is that white supremacy exists.
I'm not saying that white supremacy doesn't exist, but I'm saying that I don't think that applies here.
Okay. Jesus Christ. How you
we went everywhere.
I hope everybody enjoyed it. How did you
It was kind of a roller coaster.
Yeah, it was all over the place. Now, that was a debate with Didi. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys actually were listening to every point that I was pointing out. Remember, everything will be on the description on YouTube down below or on the podcast. To reach me, you guys can hit me up on Twitter and also Instagram with the same name, radical_Latino_. Let's start a conversation. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.